Welcome to another edition of the R&R Show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the best little sports show ever. I'm your host, Michael Roope. I'm with my co-host, William Rumsey. Hello, William.
Howdy.
All right, today we will be talking about one Andy Dalton, as today he got released.
Oh, man.
Huh?
Finally.
Yeah.
We've been calling for it since our first
yes,
edition.
yes.
They finally decided that they couldn't find a trade partner. I assume they had been trying to trade him. $17 million contract for 1 year. They just couldn't find that partner to make it work.
Well, listen, the NFL GMs are smart. They realized they weren't going to give anything for Andy Dalton. They would wait it out for the ones that wanted him. We're going to go over tonight with the good, the bad, and the ugly with Andy.
Oh, wow.
It's how many seasons was he with the Bengals?
He started in 2011, so I think 9 seasons.
9
total.
seasons.
Yeah.
And five playoffs. He made the Bengals made the five.
Right. He
He
played in 4 of those, but they made the playoffs 5 times.
Yeah, but even on that other year, I believe he kind of started off getting him to that point, because I think that year they were really rolling.
The year that he got hurt, he was in MVP discussion.
Yeah, and that's
Andy
scary.
Yeah, I mean at that point we were like that was in 2015, so that was his 4th season. Usually when QBs really start to take off, and I think up to that point, what did he get hurt? Like maybe the 13th game in, or
something like that. I believe AJ McCarron took over.
But they were. I mean, their record was great that
year. Team was great. I guess we'll at this point go over the good with Andy. I mean, 5 playoff appearances. Definitely is a good mark for a quarterback that's been with us for 9 seasons,
especially with the Bengals.
Yeah, well, especially with the Bengals, but
it's a new day. I don't mean to rip on the Bengals, but they've struggled in the playoff department and success.
Well, and I've mentioned to you guys before, and you also, that I believe the Bengals would have won not one, but possibly 2 Super Bowls with those teams that Andy Dalton had in place. If we would have had probably Ken Anderson, Carson Palmer, Boomer Esiason, Joe Burrow, I think those teams would have won 1 or 2 of those Super Bowls. I think that the Bengals have won despite of Andy Dalton.
Yeah, so I think Andy Dalton, he is you can win with him. He is a winning quarterback. I don't think he's a primetime quarterback.
Nah.
So, looking back on his career in totality, in high school, he only started full-time his senior year. Okay?
Garbage. Nope. Terrible.
But he took his team to the state title game, lost in the state title game.
And you know what? So that team probably also got to the state title despite Andy Dalton.
Maybe, but he threw 42 touchdown passes.
Well, listen, here, for all the Dalton apologists out there, I will say this: my comp for Andy Dalton is one John Kitna. Now ask yourself, did John Kitna get you excited? No, I don't think so. I'm telling you, I don't think Dalton had a below average arm, well below average running. And you know what? If you don't have either of those things, what should you have? I'll tell you what, you should have moxie, some fire in you, and Andy Dalton had none of that.
Well, that says it all.
Hey, well, listen, I'm going to play a clip from you.
Are we going there?
Yeah, we're going to
I thought we were talking about the good right now.
Yeah, well, we're going to jump right into this because...
Look, before we do that, let me give a little bit more.
Okay, give a little bit more dive.
So, at TCU...
Okay, let's hear it.
At TCU, he
try to sway me to be excited.
Well, all right, I'm just giving you a back. So, at TCU... he had the most wins in school history. Do you know who he beat out in the wins department?
At TCU.
At TCU. And you can't look off.
I'm not going to look at it. I do believe that I heard at some point that he had a lot of the records, but soon thereafter, a Boykins broke them.
That's incorrect.
Is that incorrect?
That's
okay.
incorrect.
All right. Well, give me some stats here.
He beat out Sammy Ball.
Oh, legendary Sammy Ball.
Legendary.
Of 100 years ago.
Hey, it doesn't matter.
Listen,
Sammy Ball, TCU, all-time win record.
That tells me nothing.
Okay.
Because you know what? The NFL's changed, and I'll give you some points of why I think that means nothing.
Okay. He was the Bengals' all-time leader in completions, passing TDs, passer rating, and 300-yard passing games.
And you want to know
and
why?
I think he has the most total wins as a Bengals starter as well.
That's false.
Stat boy.
That's
Stat
false.
boy.
Ken Anderson. Ken Anderson has 93 wins as a
okay.
Bengal.
Oh,
and I'm sorry, who was Ken Anderson playing against the Steel Curtain on a yearly basis?
That's true.
You know, Ken Anderson won 4 passing titles and an MVP in 80.
I've just lost a lot of street cred by not knowing that all the time.
Well, thank you. Well, listen. All right, well, give me some more dab for Dirty Dalton here.
He did win 70 games.
Okay.
Went 70, 61, and 2, so it is a winning record for a Bengals QB. I think that's
I believe I hit him at 70 and 65.
And then, just to start his career off, so the Bengals were in a dark place. Carson Palmer, their all-world QB, number 1 overall pick in 2003, he demanded a trade. He said he wasn't going to play for the Bengals anymore. The Bengals took A.J. Green in the first round that year, and then they followed it up with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, first year, took them to the playoffs.
Okay.
Showed moxie, I feel like, that rookie year.
I think they won again, despite of Andy. that team was set. That team was
they were
already.
Great team, yes.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Palmer understood. I mean, That was a great team. Even he's said that was a great team. That team was in place. Marvin Lewis has went out and said, 2 of those Bengal teams, he really thought they were Super Bowl, bound. Dalton, I believe, is John Kitna.
Is that in the good?
Well, John that's not. John Kitna had an 18 and 28 record. But you know what? He reminds me of John Kitna. He did
what
nothing.
Was his record?
Who, Kitna?
Yeah.
18 and 28. Yeah. You know what? You put John Kitna on those teams, I believe he puts up similar numbers as I'm telling you right now, Andy Dalton is basically a Trent Dilfer type. The only reason Trent Dilfer won the Super Bowl is he had a all-world defense. Yeah. He's nothing special. Yeah. And you know what? You need special quarterback, and Andy isn't.
Well, The Ringer, I don't know if you read TheRinger.com, they wrote an article last year when the Bengals were losing. Mm-hmm. And basically the summation of that article was Andy Dalton is perfectly average QB. Yep. And that's what I think I'm giving the good just because I think, talk about his good too off the field. I think what he's done for the community in Cincinnati has been fabulous. I don't want to completely tear him down, but I will down here as we move forward in our presentation. But
he has done a lot of good for the community.
He has. There's too much stuff to list. And we don't want to bore you with the details, but he's been great for the community of Cincinnati.
Yeah, and okay, so, he's got some records, but we are in a passing league these days. Mm-hmm. It has transitioned from a grinded-out, pound-them-out league to, nobody can touch the quarterback, nobody can touch the receivers, the hits. If you put some of the quarterbacks on the all-time Bengals list in today's game,
now, who was the coach? Was it Bill Parcells that talked about you're only defined by your wins and losses? Was that Bill Parcells?
I don't know.
You are what your record says you are.
Yeah. Well,
he was 70 and 61.
Okay, and you know what? He's saying it as a team. Again, that team won those games despite Andy Dalton.
Okay.
Get him out of here. All right.
All right.
Well, that being said, you know what? We're going to
ready to move on to the bad.
Yeah, I want to get to the bad because, I've been preaching from, episode 1. I wanted Dalton out of here. Why did I want Dalton out of here? Because it's going to free up $16 million. 17 million dollars.
17.7.
Okay. All right. So we're both right. So we round up to 17. All right. But again, that frees up that money. And what are we going to use with that money? We're going to lock up Mixon. We're going to give, Mixon.
Are we sure that's what's going to happen?
I'm positive that's what's going to happen because they're going to get Burrow the safety blanket, lock him up out of that 17. Let's tie up $10 million a year to Mixon. Not the NFL contracts aren't guaranteed. Let's make Mixon feel good. Let's get the mojo, going still in the right direction after the signing of Burrow.
Yeah.
But getting back to the bad, let's get back to some bad. Give me some bad.
Now I will admit that the last 3-4 years, if you follow me on social media, you've seen that I have not been a fan of Andy Dalton.
No.
And I hit on it earlier. He just wasn't great in prime time, whether that be nighttime games or the playoffs. He was terrible. He was 0-4 in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He had 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions total. How do you have only 1 touchdown in 4 playoff games?
I believe me and you have went to a couple of primetime games together watching Andy, and it's never ever looked good. And actually, I've went to one in particular that jumps out at me. I was given a grand prize to a Thursday night game a few years ago, and it was Deshaun Watson's coming out party, no less, against the Houston Texans. And, this was a game that the Bengals were supposed to win.
Yeah.
And they didn't. The lights were too bright for Andy Dalton. And I do remember, one of the Texan stars, basically coming out afterwards and after the game and calling him out. Who was that?
That was Mr. J.J. Watt.
And what did he say?
He said that there was a lot of hype before that game. The Bengals were 8-0 going into that game. A lot of hype about the Red Rifle. And in his post-game interview, he said that they turned the Red Rifle into the Red Ryder BB gun.
If that doesn't
that was phenomenal.
Hey, listen, that doesn't tell you everything that you need to know about Andy Dalton, the league didn't respect him. I'll tell you that right now. He's put up a charade way too long in Cincinnati, and listen, get him out of here. JJ doesn't respect him. No. I don't respect him. Get him out of here.
I think the organization had become static.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fully blame it on Dalton. I'm going to, they kept Marvin Lewis too long. I mean, he was 0-7 in the playoffs. So,
I didn't mind.
We won't delve into the Mike Brown family dynamic, but I think Marvin Lewis was kept too long. I think at some point they should have put an offensive-minded coach in there to help Dalton. But again, maybe it doesn't matter because
I didn't mind so much the Marvin Lewis side of things for the simple fact he brought us at least getting into the playoffs. I remember those lean years in the 90s. There were some lean years in there, but...
how many years did he get? 17 years?
Yeah.
No, not that many.
Who? Lewis?
Marvin Lewis. Came in 2003.
Man, he was there for a minute.
I think 16 years.
Yeah.
And and it wasn't just all Andy Dalton losses. And again, I think Palmer lost 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah,
games.
it was time for a change.
Yeah.
Again, some years in there, Palmer getting injured. I think that was a great year. That they had the makings of a run in the playoffs that year. But let's switch back gears to Dalton. Where does he fall on your all-time Bengals quarterback list?
Oh, I didn't expect this question.
Yeah, well, why don't you name your top 5 QBs Bengal all-time?
Bengals all-time? Okay. I would say it's tough between Boomer Esiason and Kenny Anderson. It's tough.
I've got Kenny number 1, and I mentioned earlier he's got the MVP trophy.
See, I didn't get to see Kenny Anderson play, so I'm going to be biased.
You're a little bit younger than I.
In my.
Well, and this is yours. What do you got for yours?
So I've got Boomer Esiason, Kenny Anderson, Carson Palmer, Andy Dalton. Those are the only ones that I remember playing. that were. I mean,
I'll give you my top 5. I mean, this is a pretty short.
I don't
list.
think we need to throw Klingler or Achilles Smith or John Kitna or
no. And the Bengals' history. When did they start? Maybe in the 70s, 60s, or late 60s, somewhere in there.
69.
69. Okay. Yeah. So my top 5 Bengals quarterbacks of all time. We've got Ken Anderson, 4 passing titles and an MVP. Number 2, Boomer. He got the MVP of their Super Bowl run. Yeah. Number 3, I've got Carson Palmer, huge talent. Was going to do some great things. I think that injury kind of derailed him a little bit. I will give number 4, Andy Dalton. I will get him in there. I mean, you know, the 70 wins, I mean, you can't dismiss those totally. And number 5, we've got Shake and Blake, Jeff Blake.
Oh.
Yes, the great era of the Shake and Blake. And honorable mention, that shows you how short of a life span that the Bengals have had. We've got John Kitna as the honorable mention. So
you did mention Dalton's record. We just
we
completely
did, and that was just going over the Bengals. Obviously top 5. Talking about some more of the bad. I was lucky enough. A funny little story here is I was lucky enough to go to the 2017 Pro Bowl down there in Orlando, and the whole stadium is filled with people that are supporting their fans, and I'm no different. I had my Bengals gear on and that, and they introduced Andy Dalton, and I'm like, oh boy. And the Pro Bowl has kind of lost its luster because a lot of these guys back out, and then some of these not so deserving people get in, and Andy definitely, I don't believe, was really deserving to have been in that Pro Bowl that year. But nevertheless, he gets into the game, and when he gets into the game, I'm like, oh boy, let's see what Andy does. Well, he promptly throws a pick 6 to I believe it was Richard Sherman.
Oh,
and I just I sunk my head. I had people all around me yelling, "There's your Dalton for you!" But anyway, that's just a bit of the ugliness. When you went with Andy Dalton. Now, that being said, he being released, where do you think he's going to go? Where's his landing spot?
That's where I wanted to pivot to. I mean, the rumors out there right now are the Patriots, Jaguars. Those are the two at the top. If I was a betting man, I would say that Bill Belichick's going to pull the trigger and pull Andy in.
I agree. We have talked about this months before. Me telling you how much Belichick loves Dalton. Don't know why, but
and he didn't draft a QB in this draft. I mean, he's got Jarrett Stidham. They took last year, in 4th round or something like that. They say they're high on them, but that's sounds to me like a smoke screen.
Like a lot of smoke and mirrors. Absolutely. Yeah. I can't fathom that the Patriots go into the season with Jarrett Stidham at QB.
And I don't think that the Jaguars are sold on Gardner Minshew, so he could go there as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I have heard that Denver is also a possible destination, and the Jets.
I have the Broncos, potential Raiders, Redskins.
Yeah, anytime you
maybe the Bengals. the Bengals pull them back in?
Well, at a deep discount, but we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, wherever he goes. I mean, they have some possibilities of going to some other teams if he doesn't have his heart set on a starting QB job.
Right. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he's to me at this point in career as a backup, but hey,
it might behoove him to wait until there's possible injury to a starter to pick his destination.
What other QBs are out there right now besides
Cam Newton? Jameis Winston just signed.
Yep.
Cam Newton's the other big fish.
Okay, so Cam Newton's the big fish. I couldn't imagine that even with his injury history, you wouldn't want a Cam Newton over an Andy Dalton, but I may be wrong.
I think there are a lot of coaches that just don't want the Cam Newton. What comes along with Cam Newton?
True, but you know what?
That's what I've heard.
Well, listen, like I said, the Bengals far too long have shielded the true Andy Dalton from being exposed. They've had phenomenal lines, and when you don't have a superior arm or legs, once those superior lines go to the wayside, you get exposed. And he's been exposed for the fraud. I believe he was.
Yeah, an exposed Andy.
Yeah, an exposed red rifle.
Oh,
that's never good.
That's not.
Hey, speaking of the, obviously Andy Dalton, we'd, got a little bit of humor today where, somebody compared Andy Dalton to a Scott Farkas. From Christmas Story. Boy, when I hear Scott Farkas, that just sounds disgusting.
I think of Ralphie, Grover McGill, his buddy, and what was the name of that? A Christmas Story?
Christmas Story, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
God, Scott Farkas.
That's
man.
Think of it.
That's
good stuff.
And a couple other things that, I think that...
I threw you off with that Grover McGill.
Well, you did. I just kind of bypassed that.
You don't remember Grover McGill?
No.
His little crony? Scott Farkas' little crony.
Is that what his name was, Grover?
Yeah.
Cronies. That's something near and dear to my heart, but another segment. But something that I think, really irked me about Andy Dalton from early on is his, basically insisting he be allowed to wear his wedding ring while he played the game. That, I don't know, who cares if you're married out there on the ball field? And he insisted, and they made him resort to a rubber, wedding ring, which, that's...
I just don't want to go there.
No, that's terrible. Listen,
He did take a lot of flack for that. Even from his coach.
Yes, and as well he should. Yeah. There's no reason for him to have to feel the need to wear a wedding ring out there on the field. Like, I don't think anybody cares. We're trying to win a game. So, getting back to where I was going to go earlier in this segment to show, the lack of inspiration.
Lack of fire.
Yeah, I'm going to play a little excerpt here from the opening game. We're talking the first game of the season against Seattle. Everybody's emotions are high. Everybody's excited. Super Bowl or bust for every team. Mm-hmm. Everybody should be just fired up. Everybody is, gung-ho about the season. And this is the opening little huddle before they come out on the field for the first game this past year against Seattle. I'll play this for you. Let's see, maybe. Boy, do we have
technical difficulties
at its finest here. Let's see here. Oh, well, maybe we won't play it. Let's see here.
We'll post it on our page.
Yeah, we're going to post that on your page. I encourage you.
Here we go. Bring it up. Hey, it's week one now. First chance to show who we are. Let's play smart, let's play fast, let's play physical. That's what they always preach. Let's go do this together. Playmakers on three. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, listen. Right there. Yes.
Man.
1, 2, 3. Playmakers. I mean, if that doesn't tell you what
that puts a bow on everything.
Boy, that definitely does. Again, thank you for the 9 years of service, Andy Dalton. But we were actually going to start this segment, a little special segment starting next week of Get Him Out of Here.
Yeah.
But you know what? In honor of Andy Dalton and him being released today, we're going to start that segment tonight. So the next person that sees Andy Dalton, point him out and get him out of here. He doesn't live in Cincinnati. He lives somewhere else. All right. Well, guys, thanks again. We appreciate your time. If you continue, if you love us and love what we do, keep sharing it, keep watching, and we'll see you guys here in the next day or so. Thanks.
Who day?